I can't focus on food right now. I have to write my speech. How does this sound? Like...
Go on.
That's all I've got so far. What do you think?
I think it's time for that Groovy Scoobcast. Welcome, everyone, to the go-to audio hub for all things Scooby-Doo. My name's Derek.
And I'm Shannon.
Thanks for joining us today. Today, we're going to be taking a look at an episode from Be Cool, Scooby-Doo. I'm really excited to be revisiting this series, as always.
Yeah. No, I do really like it.
What do you think of today's episode?
It was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, today we're going to be watching Scooby Dooby Do. So, indicating some sort of a wedding is going on. Do you think that the marriage will last?
No. So, when the episode starts off, he's like apologizing, and then he's like, oh, but you don't like when I apologize because it makes you feel like a monster. I'm so sorry. Oh, I did it again. And I'm like, you can just tell that they've had that conversation so many times of like, just stop apologizing. You make me feel like an asshole. And he's like, I know, I'm sorry. And then like at the end, they're both just so willing to like give up. And I'm like, this is not going to last. You guys are not invested in each other at all.
Quite the fragile relationship there. Well, before we get started on talking about Scooby Dooby Do, we will kick off our weekly Mystery Machine match, our Scooby-Doo trivia competition, where we try to figure out which one of us knows Scooby-Doo better than the other. As always, Shannon, you can go first.
Where do Morticia and Gomez take a vacation in Scooby-Doo Meets the Addams Family? The Devil's Triangle or Okefenokee Swamp?
The Devil's Triangle?
No, Okefenokee. I can't pronounce it. I'm surprised I got through that the first time. The swamp one.
Oh. I didn't want to say that one because I thought that Scooby-Doo was from Okefenokee Swamp. And I'm like, that's just trying to make me think something different. So.
Yeah.
Okay. Darn. Okay, well, here is your first question. In Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost, what type of book does Scooby-Doo dig up?
What type of book, right?
Yeah.
It's like a magical book. It's a Wiccan's... I can't think of like the actual word though.
It says spell book on the card, so I'm going to give it to you.
I thought it was something like...
Like it actually had a name.
Yeah, like a crest book or something, and I was just like, I can't think of what it is. It's witch. It's
well, you
magical.
got it, so be happy.
Abracadabra, I don't know.
What's your next question?
Freddie Prinze Jr., who plays Fred in the Scooby-Doo movie, starred in a baseball movie called Summer what?
I don't know.
Okay. Think of baseball. If you're not hitting, what are you doing?
Summer catching?
Summer catch. The summer catch is what it was called.
Oh.
I don't know. It was a stupid question.
I forfeit that one. So. Here's your next question. What Shaggy lookalike is the deputy of the Wild West town of Tumbleweed, Rusty or Dusty?
Dusty!
You are correct.
My favorite!
All of our favorites. Okay, well, that's the last question from me today.
In which is which, what have Scooby-Doo and the gang just finished doing? Fishing or bird watching?
I think they went fishing.
Yeah!
Yay, I got one correct. Here's your last question. What type of creature does Daphne's Aunt Olivia think she keeps turning into?
Is there any context with that?
No.
I have a lizard?
No. It's a cat creature.
Oh. I went to like lizard people.
Well, after tallying up those points, Shannon has taken the lead for the first time.
Oh!
We were originally sitting with a tie, 21-21, and now she has 23 and I have 22. Ooh. And there's only one Mystery Machine match left this season.
Oh, I'm gonna get it. I hope.
See.
I'm scared.
Well, hey, Mystery Machine match history was made today.
I took the lead.
Yeah.
Last season, you mopped the floor with me, so I'm surprised I've kept up. I'm learning. That's good news, Derek. I'm learning.
It's nice for you that a lot of these questions are beginning to reference things that we've watched already.
Yeah.
So, you are learning. You're getting better. Well, that was this week's Mystery Machine match. You ready to start talking about Scooby Dooby Do? After you're done yawning?
Yep.
This week's premise is coming from Scoobypedia. The gang attend a wedding of their two close friends, but a vengeful ghost bride threatens to ruin everything. I was under the impression from a premise I feel like I've read before that Shaggy was the best man in the wedding and that Daphne was the...
Maid of honor?
Yeah, the maid of honor.
Shaggy is the best man, but then they also, Fred makes a few jokes indicating that he's the best man, but then Fred also tells us that Shaggy's the best man, and then Daphne never refers to herself as a maid of honor. She constantly says, as a bridesmaid,
I don't even think they used the term maid of honor at all in this episode.
No, it's not once ever mentioned, which is weird because the only people in the wedding party are the gang.
Yeah.
So...
And Scooby's officiating the wedding.
I'm not gonna lie though, if I had a talking dog as a friend, he would officiate the wedding.
Yeah.
That's something that's once in a lifetime. If Tom Hanks offers to officiate your wedding, you're not gonna be like, oh no, it's good. No, you can officiate my wedding. Okay, thanks. People are gonna come around to see that.
Well, the episode starts off with our groom of the episode, Nate. He is standing underneath a gazebo at the site where the wedding is taking place. He's rehearsing his vows that he's going to be saying to his fiancée, Kimmie, tomorrow. Which
are super weird vows, by the way.
How so?
Well, he's talking about how, we've been dating and da-da-da-da-da. And he mentions, even though, the first year was just me standing by you and you not noticing me at all. And I was like, that's depressing.
Do you count that as part of your anniversary?
Yeah, I'm she didn't even know you existed. You were just crushing on her. And yet that was and that was a whole year.
Jeez.
That you just stood by her and hoped she noticed.
He starts hearing crying, and he looks off and sees a woman wearing a wedding dress. She's standing over this cliff that is at the site, and he walks up to her thinking that it's Kimmie. So he starts, apologizing because she's apparently really superstitious.
Yeah.
And she does not want this wedding to go wrong at all due to bad luck or anything like that.
So I took note of everything that was bad luck, so I'll mention it as we go through. But he apologizes because apparently the bride overhearing the vows before the wedding is bad luck.
Is it?
I feel
I've never heard that one before.
I've never heard that it's bad luck. I just know people genuinely don't. If you're writing your own vows, you want it to be a surprise.
Right.
But I've never heard, straight up that it's bad luck.
Right. So when he gets up to her, she, turns around and we actually see that it's a menacing looking ghost. She looks like a decayed corpse wearing a wedding dress.
And what's funny is that he is mentioning the words monster and whatever, because he's oh, I know that you don't like me saying I'm sorry because it makes you feel like a monster, but I love you so much, and you know that I wouldn't ever marry you if I thought you were a monster.
Right.
And that's when she turns around and surprise, surprise, it's a monster.
She screams so loud and it scares the shit out of Nate.
Well, and my thing is, if somebody turned around looking like that and screamed in my face, I'm pushing you off the ledge.
Keep in mind, she's standing on the cliff. Nate could have very easily pushed this woman off the cliff.
Yes.
And I'm just going to say it now. Spoiler alert. The woman who's in this costume is his mother. So if he did that, he would have straight up just killed his mom.
Yeah, like, I'm just... Like, I mean, you can't do that to me, especially, like, the day before my wedding. I'm probably already really nervous, and you're just gonna, like, scream in my face on the edge of a cliff looking like a decayed, dead bride?
What
like,
a terrible mother.
Yeah, you're an asshole. You deserve to get pushed off that ledge.
So we cut to the next day. Shaggy, Fred, and Scooby are in their hotel room, and they're getting ready for the wedding. I feel like this is the first time I've really seen, like, the gang as a collective dressing up for an event like this.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because Shaggy's trying to tie his bow tie because he doesn't know how. He goes to Fred for advice on how to do it, but then discovers that Fred tied his bow tie like an ascot. It's just a navy blue ascot.
Well, and my thing is, when he walks up to Fred, you get this, like, still shot, like, close-up of Fred, and he just looks as dumb as a log. Like, he just looks so stupid because he's just standing there like, haha.
Well, I think it's just because he thinks that this is an appropriate necktie for this wedding when it's supposed to be in the form of a bow tie, but...
Okay.
So he goes to Scooby to tie it, and Scooby does end up tying it for him and says, it just takes practice. I love Scooby in this series.
He's cute.
He has a lot of funny one-liners that are just great. So Fred is trying to reassure Shaggy that he's going to do great as the best man. And, you know, because Shaggy's never really even been to a wedding before, according to what he said. And Shaggy is just like, yeah, but I've never been to a wedding, nonetheless being a best man. And Fred says, all you have to do is just, have the ring on you, which Shaggy lost. He accidentally put it on a sandwich and put the olive that was supposed to be on the sandwich in the ring box.
Okay.
And then Fred mentions that he has to give a speech. Shaggy panics. So this is going to be the running gag for Shaggy throughout the episode, being that he's super nervous and really, like, stressed about this speech that he has to give.
Well, and he gets really upset with Scooby. He gets really upset with Scooby because, well, Scooby, you should have told me that I needed to write a speech. And Scooby's like, well, how am I supposed to know? And he goes, well, aren't you the wedding expert? Isn't that why they asked you to officiate the wedding?
And Scooby just responds, I'm ordained.
He's like, I'm ordained. That's it. Like, there's nothing else going on.
So, I mean, fun fact, not the fun fact of this episode, but fun fact, Scooby's ordained.
Yep.
I think that's a pretty cool bit of information for Scooby-Doo. So now Daphne and Velma are about to enter the room. They knock on the door. And Fred looks at Shaggy and Scooby and says, okay, we have to be complimentary. So Daphne and Velma come in wearing their bridesmaid dresses.
And
they look absolutely ridiculous.
And that's always, like, a thing, is that bridesmaid dresses are supposed to be super ugly or whatever. Like, it's supposed to be just a running gag for weddings. So they have these, like, poofy purple and pink dresses with these big, ugly flowers.
And they have bows in their hair.
Yeah, and it's just...
They look horrible.
And Daphne's like, isn't this great?
She's so excited about it. Daphne's thing in this episode is just that she loves weddings.
She loves weddings.
See, I'm kind of bummed because this is the second Be Cool Scooby-Doo episode we're watching. And in both instances, Daphne's, like, gag thing of the episode isn't really all that prevalent.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, yeah, she's all about weddings in this episode, but... it's not as obvious as her gag of the episode as in other episodes where she, like, has a mustache or is using puppets.
Yeah.
Like, in this one, it's not as obvious. And, like, in the last episode we watched, the, if you can't Scooby-Doo the time, don't Scooby-Doo the crime, she didn't do anything throughout the episode until we discover that she actually took Fred's sandwich.
Yeah.
And that was it.
That was the gag. Yeah, I mean, this episode was still funny, and her,
it was
her
great,
little gag was still, like, it was still funny, but it wasn't a gag that I would have picked, per se.
So Daphne basically asks them, how do they look?
So they all have these giant cheesy grins. Their teeth are clenched.
They are faking it.
And Fred goes, wow, your dresses are, well... they sure made two of them.
Shaggy follows up with saying, wow, Yeah, like, they made one and then actually said, let's make another.
And then Scooby goes, and then they did.
Velma sees right through it. I mean, Velma's not happy to be dressed up at all.
Yeah, let alone is pink and purple not Velma's colors. She's in these purple heels that she can't walk in. Like
she's stomping throughout the episode.
She's not having it. They all had like their each individual little gag in this one.
Except Scooby and Fred.
Yeah.
Because Shaggy's thing was, the speech. Daphne is, about weddings. And Velma is stompy.
She's like, she can't walk in these heels, so she's just stomping through life.
Yeah. I mean, same.
Sometimes.
So they're about to go downstairs and, see everybody. Something I noted is that when they leave the room, we see the ghost bride, standing behind the curtains in the room. And keep in mind, this is Shaggy, Fred, and Scooby's room. Mm-hmm. Why is she in there?
Maybe she's wet for Fred.
You win. All right, I'll take it. So they go to sign the signature book that, is...
there.
It's always there at a wedding. Scooby, I liked that Scooby, takes the feather pen and he, puts on a monocle and he's, super fancy about writing his prestigious signature in this book. He writes his signature and Shaggy looks at it and it's just a bunch of splotchy letters. It looks horrible. And then Scooby just looks at Shaggy and just raises his eyebrows yeah.
Mm-hmm. I did that. It looked like a 3-year-old signing their name. There was just ink everywhere. You could tell it said Scooby-Doo, but it was interesting. That definitely leaked through 10 pages.
Shaggy goes to write his. Something I noted is that he uses Shaggy in his signature, not his actual first name.
I mean, if that's how they know you.
I guess, but I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't they know his first name? Because apparently they're oldest friends.
Yeah. Kimmie and Nate are their oldest friends.
They have to know that Shaggy is not his actual first name.
I don't know.
Anyway, Shaggy signs his name, and he starts looking at all the other signatures in the book, and he starts freaking out because of how many people are going to be there while he's giving his best man speech.
Yeah, there were a lot of nicknames on the page.
I actually wrote down a couple funny names that I saw on the page. I saw Kent Butterworth and Gina Circumference.
I want them to be my friends.
Oh, yeah?
Kent Butterworth sounds like he's got some money.
I also wrote down that Cheryl Johnson has a fucking terrible signature.
Yeah, she did. I remember I saw that one.
And Shaggy's looking at all the signatures, and he says, I have to give a speech in front of all these people. Look at them all. Judging me. Relatable.
All the nicknames, yep. Or all the signatures are judging me.
And now Nate comes up to see the group, and he is really worried and nervous right now because, he saw the ghost the prior night, and he's worried that it's going to ruin the day. And the gang's like, okay, so what's all of this about? Because Nate mentions that it's a urban legend around this area. So he refers to a wedding that happened 100 years ago at the same hotel. The wedding party were standing at the cliff. The photographer was going to get a good big photo of all of them together. And just as he was about to take the picture, a meteor comes out of fucking nowhere.
And just takes everyone except the bride out.
So the bride is just standing there at the cliff, smiling, by the way.
She has no idea that a meteor just hit everyone
Killed
she loves.
Her entire family and took her picture. I thought it was strange because at the actual, wedding site, they have a bunch of pictures of Nate and Kimmie, throughout their entire relationship. Yep. And then they just have this photo of the bride from 100 years ago also there. I'm like, why is that up there on the wall?
I didn't understand that at all because you wouldn't want to bring... I wouldn't want any pictures from anyone else's wedding at my wedding.
Right. Like, this is about that.
Especially 100 years ago.
And it's a tragedy, too. Like, that's a fucking terrible story.
Like, a bitch I don't know. And, like, not a great wedding. I'm good. Thanks.
The meteorite just killed me. I loved how it just came out of nowhere.
That's also the running gag in this episode, is meteors.
Well, because in the last Be Cool Scooby-Doo episode we watched, it was sharks.
Yeah.
Sharks are just coming out of anywhere and just terrorizing everybody.
Yep.
And now it's meteors.
Meteors.
Ultimately, Nate says that Kimmie is super superstitious about this entire wedding day, and the gang has to try and keep the investigation on the down low so that she doesn't find out about the ghost. And they're like, okay, that's fine. And Daphne says, nothing will distract us from solving this mystery. We immediately cut over to Shaggy and Scooby, off in the distance, paying no mind to the story. And Shaggy says, hey, it's a catering tent. And then Scooby says, what? I was distracted.
Of course.
I just like that there's a lot of like spoken jokes in this episode and this series as opposed to other ones. Like it's a lot of,
Short
dialogue jokes
yeah.
as opposed to like visual gags.
Yeah.
After Nate leaves, the gang kind of splits up a little bit to try and, comb the area, see what's all going on. And the Ghost Bride does attack. So I think it was attacking Scooby and Shaggy initially, wasn't it?
Yeah. Because they were eating all the food at the catering tent. And that's when he did the I can't focus on my food. I have to write my speech.
Right.
And so then when he asked what Scooby thought, all of a sudden the Ghost Bride starts crying. And Scooby's like, Shaggy goes, I know it's awful, isn't it? Like, it's just the word like. Of course it's awful.
That's a terrible speech.
It's a terrible speech.
I would hate to see his high school papers.
Like, if somebody got up at my wedding and was just like, thank you, and sat back down, beat the shit out of you.
You better not fucking do that at my wedding, Shannon, or I will do it at yours.
Just stand up. Like, and sit down. Like, what the fuck?
And everyone in the reception room is just looking around like, huh?
Okay.
And the whole night is ruined. You can't come back from that.
Like, later on in the night, people are like, who the fuck made that? Like, they just stood up and said, like, do you... Like, 10 years from now, they'll be like, did we dream that? Was that like a collective hallucination, or did that really happen at your wedding? And you'd be
Group
like...
hypnosis.
Group hypnosis!
Call back to the dynamic Scooby-Doo affair. Group hypnosis.
Was that group hypnosis, or did that really happen at your wedding? No, that really happened.
So, the bride starts chasing the entire gang, and it's chasing them to the cliff.
Wait. Because the bride attacked Scooby and Shaggy, and then it cut back to Fred, Daphne, and Velma clue hunting by the cliff. Turns out, heels and rocky terrain don't go together. So Daphne broke her heel, and then she put it back on.
And it was never an issue for the rest of the episode.
But she put it back on, took a step, and fell. And then after that, it was never an issue again. But my thing was, like, you can't put on a broken heel and expect it to work like a heel.
Daphne fucking can. She glides.
Yeah, she glides,
She doesn't stomp, she glides.
And then Velma, like, lifted up her dress and is just, like, Hulk jumping from one rock to the other. And she's like, Velma, how are you doing that? And she's like, I don't glide, I stomp.
Less glide, more stomp.
And that's when Shaggy and Scooby come running in and they go, how about more running?
Yes. And the bride does corner Daphne on the cliff, and Daphne ends up falling off of it.
Now, here's my issue with that scene. Daphne is falling backwards quite a ways away from the cliff, because she, like, almost runs off the cliff by accident, because she tripped.
Yeah.
And then it, like, cuts to what I'm assuming would have been a commercial, and so we come back, and she's hanging on the cliff. So somehow she was able to flip herself back over while falling and bring herself closer to the cliff to actually grab onto the side of the cliff. Whatever it was, I'm okay, because I was really worried they were actually about to kill Daphne off.
Times are desperate. She can do it. Daphne's wild in this series because she's hanging off of the cliff, yelling hate for the gang.
And she goes, I refuse to go out like a cliche.
Same.
I relate to that.
And this is when Velma demonstrates the full abilities of her stomping powers.
I'm gonna say, I think that Velma is a lesbian in this series.
Why?
I just feel it. I don't have a gaydar, but my gaydar is ringing on it. I just like, just the way, like, she just hops down the cliff and is like kicking and just superheroes
she
down the cliff.
She does some flips with these heels off of branches and
like swings around a branch and grabs Daphne and like Hulk hops back up and is holding Daphne like a damsel in distress. And Fred goes, that was cool.
And Scooby, and weird.
Which, like, it was, because that was some, like, deep lesbian power there.
Is that what that was?
That's what
Why is that fueled by lesbianism?
I don't know. It's fueled by lesbianism. I don't know why, but it is. I'm telling you, I feel it. Because, like, me as a best friend to another girl wouldn't be able to do that. Like, I'd need some, like, lesbian power to do that. I don't know. It's fueled by lesbian. Don't question me on it. I just know.
It's fueled by lesbians?
Yep.
Not lesbianism, lesbians.
Lesbians.
Velma eats lesbians.
Maybe that's what it is.
Something I noticed after Velma saved Daphne is that we progressively see her dress and her outfit, like, get ruined by this investigation because, you know, she broke her heel, and when they get back up from the cliff and they're chased by the ghost again, they all hide in these rose pots, I guess. And when they're getting out, the thorns of the rose branches are, like, you know, ripping her dress. I just like that that's not really important to the story. It's just something that's progressively happening throughout the episode. Because no one comments on it, really. Well,
and I think it's funny that it only happens to Daphne, and she's the one that loves weddings.
Yes.
And she's, like, getting punished for it. like, I love weddings, and then she falls off a cliff, and her heel breaks, and her dress gets ripped.
She almost went out a cliche.
And she's like, I love weddings.
Meanwhile, Velma's over here. She's, like, exclaiming how empowered she feels by her outfit because it's so freeing and agile. And she's, like, just jumping around in these heels. And she says, and I feel tall. I'm a giant.
As a short girl, I can relate to that.
Keep in mind that Velma is, you know, she's always been the shortest member of the gang. But in this series, she's substantially shorter.
Yeah.
So now that the ghost is gone, they're all, like, recuperating, and I don't remember exactly what Daphne said, but Kimmie shows up with her mom.
Oh, she just said, like, we can't let Kimmie find out about the ghost, but she got cut off with Kimmie can't find out, and Kimmie shows up and she goes, Kimmie can't find out what?
Oh, and yeah, so then Daphne says, oh, about Shaggy's great best man speech. It's gonna blow you away. Shaggy's standing off on the side, jaw dropped. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
And Scooby just pats him on the shoulder and goes, it's for the greater good.
I would be pissed too.
The only word I have written is like.
Everyone knows that he does not have this prepared yet.
And nobody else is really concerned about the speech. Like, even when they're about to start the wedding, Shaggy says something about it, and Fred literally is just like,
we'll worry about that later.
We're just gonna let them say I do, and then we're gonna figure the rest of this out. Like, everybody else is just like, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I did note that we get a real insight to what Kimmie's mom thinks of Nate, because she won't refer to him by name. She'll just say,
that guy you're about to marry. Or,
Nate?
like, what's his name?
Yeah, what's his name? And she, like, gives the most ugly snare.
Yeah.
Like, she looks horrible.
Well,
so it turns out she's actually the other villain in this episode. The moms are working together.
So we also, in that scene, find out more things that are bad luck. Because Kimmie is, like, straightening everybody up, dusting off their dresses. She doesn't say anything about Daphne's ripped dress.
I was gonna say that.
Which really got me, because I was like, that's the thing that I would be most concerned about.
I'd be pissed.
I'd be like, so you're coming to my wedding in
Like
a
that?
ripped dress? So you find out more things that are bad luck or things that you do for good luck. So you're supposed to keep sugar cubes in your gloves and avoid the color yellow. The thing is, avoiding the color yellow, she takes a can of red paint and splashes it on the painter who's painting like
a sign
for the wedding, like it's like Kimmie and Nate's wedding, but it's in yellow, and so she just drenches him and the sign in red paint.
He was wearing a yellow shirt too.
Yeah, he had on a yellow shirt. Well, she has on a gold necklace, which looks pretty yellow. In her bouquet and in the bridesmaid's bouquet are, I think like red something and yellow flowers. The mom is wearing a yellow flower on her shirt. So like the color yellow is everywhere. No wonder your wedding is haunted.
That's the reason?
Yeah.
That there's yellow at the wedding. That's the only reason. It has nothing to do with the mothers.
Yeah.
After this conversation, we see Nate and his mother at the dance floor, and she's criticizing where the DJ spot is, and, you know, this contraption needs to be over there. And Nate's like, it doesn't matter where it is. And she's just like, we cannot allow our standards to go down because you're marrying into this family. I'm just like, you classist cunt. Like, shut up.
Right. You're not even paying for this wedding. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. And after she leaves, for some reason, Scooby and Shaggy are behind the DJ booth playing music. And Nate's just looking at them like, what are you guys doing? And then just turn off the music like, hey, my bad.
Hey, my bad. Yeah, and like smoke starts pouring out. Like it was about to be lit party.
Yes. The rest of the gang join. And Nate says, okay, so how is the ghost hunting going? Hopefully it's better than the mother situation. And Fred says, we were attacked by the ghost.
And he goes, so that's good news?
How is that good news? Velma rationalizes saying that that's the first step in solving their mysteries usually.
Yeah.
That's
pretty
typical, yes.
Yeah. So Nate, as he's like talking to them about, okay, you know, how's the ghost situation and stuff, he goes, well, wait, Kimmie's alone in the bridal suite. What if the ghost is going to attack her? Because we can't let her know about this ghost or she's going to call the wedding off.
Yeah.
And so they're like, okay, well, somebody should go keep an eye on her. And Nate, you know, mentions it's bad luck for the groom to see the bride before the wedding, so there's no way that Kimmie would let him into the bridal suite. And so then Daphne makes the second comment of, as a bridesmaid, it'd be a cold day on the sun before she lets this wedding get canceled.
Is that what she said?
Yeah. so they go off. Yeah, her and Velma go off to go keep Kimmie company.
Yes. When they're in there, Daphne's like kind of just talking up with Kimmie while Velma is going around and shutting all the windows to make sure that the ghost doesn't appear anywhere.
We also get a new insight. Apparently you need 6 pins in each shoe.
Oh, for good luck.
For good luck,
wedding.
Yep.
And Velma finds binoculars on the windowsill of one of the windows, and the window directly faces the cliff where the ghost has been appearing. So Daphne's just like, I wonder what those are for. And then I think the ghost bursts out of the wardrobe that was in the room, right?
Yeah. Well, so, okay, while they were at the DJ booth, is what we forgot to mention, was that Shaggy found a CD. Was that now or later?
No, that was then.
Okay. Shaggy had found a CD, and he, like, mentions, hey, I think I found a clue.
Yeah.
That's, like, the only detective work that's really done.
In this episode. Right. It just says, like, Nate and Kimmie's wedding on it,
yeah,
doesn't
like,
it?
wedding day or something, yeah. So then while Velma and Daphne are in the bridal suite and Velma looks out the window and she's like, hey, that's weird. I'm surprised. And she mentions, like, I'm surprised Kimmie hasn't seen the ghost attack. And Daphne goes, yeah, especially with these here. And she picks up some binoculars. Right then and there, I kind of suspected maybe it was Kimmie. Like,
you thought Kimmie was trying to sabotage the wedding?
Because I was thinking, I'm like, well, if it's right there, like, maybe it's Kimmie.
She's just trying to ruin her own wedding.
Yeah, like,
she does not want to marry Nate.
She doesn't really want to marry Nate. I don't know. At this point, I'm not invested in their marriage. Like, I know it's not going to work. Maybe she came to that realization, too.
And to be fair, after seeing Mr. Incorporated, anything can happen
yeah,
in Scooby-Doo these days.
So I'm like, whatever. It's not Kimmie.
Right. The ghost ends up bursting out of the wardrobe that's in the suite.
Yeah.
And Velma, like, shoves her back into the wardrobe while Daphne is distracting Kimmie, trying to, like, do up her hair, even though Kimmie exclaims, like, my hair's already done.
Yeah. She's like, no, you're a hot mess, girl.
Starts blow drying, and she's like, it needs to be drier.
Yeah, I don't know. It was a weird thing. So eventually the ghost gets out of the wardrobe, and Velma takes, like, a dresser and, like, pushes the ghost out, closes the door, and then pushes the dresser up against the door and is sitting on it. And Kimmie's like, what is going on? And Daphne's like, knock on wood. And then Velma goes, oh, I just did some feng shui. It's really going to bring the energy into the room.
And Kimmie's just like, good idea, Velma.
Yeah, thanks. Like, you can tell Kimmie is, like...
Clueless.
Like, she is just hoping for the best on her wedding day.
After this whole fiasco and Daphne and Velma manage to get Kimmie out of the room, the ceremony is now about to start. So the gang's, like, generally just trying to rush the ceremony because they want to get Nate and Kimmie married, and then they'll solve the mystery, because then at that point Kimmie won't be as, flustered about all the superstitious stuff pertaining to weddings.
Well, and I'm thinking, too, like, because if we get her to say I do, there's nothing she can do about it. They're married. Get her to sign the marriage certificate, and then it doesn't matter.
Divorce doesn't exist in Scooby-Doo.
So everybody's, like, set up for the wedding, and Daphne and Velma are bringing Kimmie down. And so Velma and Daphne come running down the aisle, and Daphne falls, and she's like, go on without me! And so then Kimmie comes walking down the aisle, and Daphne, like, pops up in her face, and she's like, it's a wedding march, not a walk. Let's hurry this thing up! And so, like, she, like, runs up there and is, like, heavily breathing, trying to get through the wedding. And so, they're still trying to rush it, and so Scooby is like, oh, okay, give me the ring. Okay, now say I do.
And Kimmie is like, Scooby, we didn't even say our vows. And Scooby, like, spits back at her, we trust you. That's my favorite line of the episode.
We trust you. Like, it was just great.
He was so desperate to get this ceremony done.
They just, I do sign the bond. Done. You're married. So, of course, the ghost attacks.
Yeah, everyone goes into a panic. Everyone that's in their seats, runs away. And Kimmie, loses her shit. She's just like, oh my God, you hid this from me? Because, Nate kind of lets that slip.
You can't start a marriage off with ghost lies.
That's something that we should all live by.
Yeah.
You can't start off a marriage with ghost lies. So this begins the chase sequence of the episode. They didn't have, like, a regular... sang song like they have in other Be Cool Scooby-Doo episodes, but I liked the music. It was pretty cool. I liked the guy that was preparing the wedding cake. They run past him, and he, like, tosses the cake up in the air.
Well, he is able to dodge every member of the gang, but then the ghost that can now walk through walls and stuff is coming right at him, and so he, like, throws it up in the air, and then the ghost walks through him.
It lands on a table nearby, and the cake is perfectly fine.
And I love his reaction is, "Hey," with 2 thumbs up. Hey.
The gang hide behind the gift table, and they start unwrapping gifts and then throwing everything at the ghost. But before they throw it, they look at the gift and they go, "Aww," and they just chuck everything. My opinion is, why even take the time to unwrap the gifts?
Well, because Shaggy picked up the box at first to throw it, and Daphne was like, no, we have to open it.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Because it was like, we have to know what we're throwing or whatever. Like, I don't know. But because Scooby and Shaggy picked up the first box to throw, and Daphne, like, took it out of his hands and unwrapped it, and it was a blender. And they were all like, "Aw!" And then they chuck the blender, and it breaks. After that,
because everything's going through the ghost.
Yeah, after that first one, maybe like the toaster that was the second one, and I'd just be like, all right, obviously this isn't working.
They keep chucking gifts.
They chuck all of the gifts. They break every single one of Kimmie and Nate's gifts.
I'd be pissed.
Finally, they hit, which if you notice, because it comes back later, but the ghost disappears. It disappeared after they hit the DJ booth, and smoke starts coming out of the DJ booth.
Yep.
Now, it's something in the background, so you don't necessarily notice, but later we find out that's how the ghost was being portrayed, was through the DJ booth on a projector.
Yeah. After this, Nate and Kimmie are like, fighting, and they're just like, oh my God, I can't believe you hid this from me. And Nate's just countering with just like, you can't be all this superstitious. And they're just pissed, and they walk away. And the gang's all sad. They're sitting underneath the tent thinking about how they just kind of ruined this entire wedding. And Daphne ends up like, doing like a pep talk, trying to get them all,
Yeah, she's like, this whole thing might be ruined, but look, we still have the cake. The cake is the symbol of weddings, and da-da-da-da-da.
There's still hope.
There's still hope.
The cake is sitting on the table nearby, where it landed earlier, and the table is about to tip over.
And just as the cake is about to fall on the ground, a meteor hits the cake.
This place is not a good area when it comes to meteors.
No.
Why do they keep having weddings here?
I wouldn't want a meteor like that. I mean, and think about if everything had gone to plan. Like, they'd be in the middle of dinner eating at the reception, and a meteor would have just landed in the middle of the floor.
Someone would have died.
Probably.
Someone else would have died at this hotel.
Like, I'm glad that there was a ghost, because people would have died.
Public service.
Yep.
So Fred devises a new plan after they've all been pepped up to, let's solve this mystery. He gets Scooby and Shaggy dressed up as a bride and groom. Scooby is the lovely bride. They're standing at the altar, and, their foreheads are up against each other. It's all romantic with the sun setting.
So the ghost shows up, and they both start screaming. And Scooby goes, ah! Oh. Ah!
And keep in mind that he has his veil over his face, so, like, you can't actually see that it's Scooby yet. And Shaggy, like, lifts up the veil and reveals that it's Scooby. And Shaggy says, oh, you're a dog? This wedding is off. And
he goes, I thought you knew! And so they start running and, like, chase. And Shaggy and Scooby are running now. And the bride's chasing after him. So they hold up. The rest of the gang has this, like, net made out of rose petals and vines. And, of course, the ghost just goes right through it.
Right, because this is the holographic ghost, correct?
No. That it was the mom.
Oh, is this the real one at this time? Okay.
Yeah, so she switched back in costume. And so, but because it was just roses and, like, vines, like, it's not anything. So she breaks right through it.
Right.
So Velma goes, too bad this wedding theme wasn't heavy metal chains.
That would have captured the ghost.
I know. It was like, well, we know what her wedding theme is going to be.
Right. The ghost at some point is like, cornering all of them. And Daphne is sick of it, because she's all about weddings. So she goes full stompy mode like Velma. She
rips the entire bottom of her dress off.
Right. And she screams, for the wedding! And just attacks the ghost. She tackles her, right?
Yeah, she tackles her, and they roll under the tent. Now, when they were rolling, she, like, hit one side of the tent, so then the entire tent is falling.
It collapsed on them both, right?
No, so it collapsed, and Daphne, like, barrel rolls out of the tent. And so then the mom, who's still dressed as the ghost, like, pokes her head out and has now ripped a hole in it. So they all walk up to him. And the funniest thing is when we first started watching this and they were like, the ghost is, and I jokingly was just like, your mom. And it was. So that was great for me. And I was like, oh my God, it really is.
It was Nate's mom that was actually in the costume.
And Kimmie is so pissed. She's like, that's worse than a ghost. It was your mom. Like, oh my God. And
Velma stops her and she's like, well, hey, Kimmie, your mom was in on it too.
And her mom goes, well, how can you prove that? I mean,
How did you know?
How did you know? Or, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. And Shaggy takes this videotape out of the nearby cameraman's camera, and he puts it in the TV. And he's basically just demonstrating to Kimmie and Nate, who are about to break up, because they're just like, this is a terrible way to start off a marriage.
They both are so ready to walk away.
They're about to walk away. Like, the wedding is off. They're about to break up. Like, it's done.
They don't care anymore.
And Shaggy, kind of gives a speech where he's just like, you two love each other. And, you have always loved each other since you met. And we all know that your moms hate each other, that your families hate each other. But, that's something that, you guys have to overcome. And he's just being super sentimental and deep about it.
It was a really cute speech.
Yes.
And so then at the end of it, Scooby leans over and he goes, that was a good speech. And he was like, oh, I accidentally just gave my best man speech.
Right. And, Kimmie and Nate, they find it in themselves to, forgive each other and let it all go. The moms set aside their differences because they both wanted to instill fear in their children in order to... be manipulated. I'm just like, that's a great way to bond, but okay. Scooby ultimately ends up marrying the two, and then everyone's happy. I noted that all the people that were there clapping for Shaggy's speech left.
Yeah.
Like, before they got married, so now it's just the moms, Nate and Kimmie, and the gang that are there. Everyone else just left.
Like, it was like, Shaggy's speech was so good, but they were like, yeah, they're still not going to get married.
It's not going to work out.
Like, they were like, let's go home.
Everyone's happy after the two are married, and the episode finishes with a meteor in the background just shooting out of the sky. That was I, Scooby Dooby Do.
What did you rate this episode, Derek?
On the Scooby Snack-O-Meter, I awarded this episode 8 Scooby Snacks.
All right.
I really enjoyed it. I think that weddings aren't a really common thing I see in Scooby-Doo. I can only think of one other episode where I've seen a wedding. I liked that Shaggy and Daphne kind of were made to play a bigger role in the episode, given they're part of the wedding. I mean, they're all part of the wedding, but, Shaggy's the best man. The couple is apparently friends of theirs. They're their oldest friends, according to the two in the episode.
Although we've never met them ever before.
And I didn't think that the gang had any friends otherwise. And I think that there's just a lot of funny jokes in this episode, too, that, don't distract too much from the mystery all that much. I enjoyed it. I'm really happy and comfortable giving it an 8.
I'm giving it an 8 also.
Okay.
I really didn't see anything, super wrong with the episode. I did genuinely like it. I always like the little quirks that everybody has, like I can't walk in heels, I'm stompy. I always like those because it kind of just makes you feel like you know a little bit more.
I'm surprised that you didn't say anything about how the stomping kind of went out through the entire episode. You don't really like long jokes like that.
I usually don't love them. But, in this case, they make it, these ones were kind of more you getting to know the characters. So, throughout the whole thing, Velma can't walk in heels. That's not something I would expect Velma to know how to do either, just because she normally doesn't seem like a high heel type of person. Maybe, a short one, but not, you wouldn't see her in, stilettos.
Mm-hmm.
So something like that, it was kind of, I didn't like it, necessarily as a joke, but just something that, is a fact. She just can't walk in heels. So, the long-running jokes are usually annoying, and they get old. That whole sandwich thing in the last episode that we watched was be cool. It's okay, get over it. It was just a sandwich. But, this is, it's a fact. She can't walk in heels.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be panicked about a speech also. It was just, I got it.
Any other thoughts on the episode?
I don't think Kimmie and Nate's relationship is going to last.
Their marriage gets 0 Scooby Snacks from us.
Their marriage gets nothing from me. I mean, I'm sorry. Just if you're going to be that superstitious, just wait until Kimmie realizes that the gang broke every single one of her wedding gifts.
Oh my God. Now imagine when they have kids. If they have kids.
That's what I'm saying. It's just they always say the first year of marriage is the hardest. And she could barely make it through their relationship. Yeah.
So collectively, we award I, Scooby Dooby Do 8 Scooby Snacks on the Scooby Snack-O-Meter.
That
Good
might
job.
have been one of the highest that we've given out this season.
I think it is.
I'm so sorry.
So are you ready for a fun fact of the week?
Always.
Well, I wanted to talk about Velma's voice actress in this episode.
Okay.
So you may know that Kate Micucci, Velma's voice in Be Cool Scooby-Doo and other Scooby-Doo related content right now, this is the first time that she's actually appearing in the Scooby-Doo franchise. Velma's voice has been the same for a few years prior to this, so Kate takes on a really different interpretation of Velma. I wanted to talk about some of the other things that she does because I'm not really sure if you're really familiar with her at all. But did you know that she was on the TV show Raising Hope?
No.
Yeah, she was.
Wait, which one is she?
I think her name's Shelley, the babysitter.
Oh.
That's Kate Micucci.
Okay. See, then I love her. She plays in so much.
Yeah, she plays in that. She voices Sadie on Steven Universe.
Okay.
And she does a couple other voices just here and there on other shows like Ben 10 Omniverse, as well as I think the 2016 Powerpuff Girls. But she does a lot. Like I was looking at her filmography, she has a lot under her belt.
Well, and the funny thing is she'll randomly pop up and stuff all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like you'll just be watching a movie and she'll just be there and you're like, oh my God, but I never knew what her name was.
Yeah, so the big one that I knew about with her, other than Be Cool Scooby-Doo, was Raising Hope. So I thought that was pretty cool.
That is a fun fact.
Now, because next week, like we did last season, we would normally be watching a Scooby-Doo movie. Because of the holidays and because we do intend on bringing a guest host on again, Shannon and I are having a lot of trouble just getting together. We're busy. We're busy people.
It's also about to be finals week for those of you who are in school.
Yes. So we are actually going to postpone that episode until the following week. But don't worry, there is an episode next week. We're just moving our special topics up one. So next week we'll be doing a special topics. Shannon, are you ready to randomize what this special topic will be?
Always.
Okay, here we go.
And our special topic is the video game Scooby Doo, based on the 2002 movie.
Oh my God.
So, because because this entire season has been filled with our favorite movies or videos, whatever, let's just end it off with a great Scooby-Doo 2002.
Oh my God.
Now, Derek was looking for a premise.
Yeah, I was looking on Scoobypedia to try and find a premise for this video game, but it doesn't appear like Scoobypedia even acknowledges it as a thing that exists. Like, there's no page for it.
So that just makes me so excited to play this video game.
I looked on Wikipedia and there's nothing on there either. Like, this game doesn't exist. But I have it in my hands. Like, I have the box. Shannon, you can see this box, right?
Yes.
Like, it is a lovely box. Game Boy Advance. It's Nintendo branded. THQ is right there.
Ooh.
Haven't heard about them in a long time. But it's a real thing that you can buy.
So we're giving you the premise off of the box because it doesn't exist online.
Keep in mind this game is for the Game Boy Advance. If you guys would at all be interested in playing this game with us, because Shannon and I are going to have a riot playing this game this week. This is the premise coming from the Scooby-Doo Game Boy Advanced video game box. Zoinks! Mystery Inc. is on Spooky Island. Now it's up to you to help Scooby, Shaggy, Velma, Fred, and Daphne solve the mysteries of Spooky Island. Are you brave enough to fend off the villains? Are you clever enough to solve the puzzles? Can you put the clues together to solve the big mystery of this demon-haunted island? Jinkies! Here we go again.
All right.
That, again, at the end, it implies as if this video game is, like, taking place after the movie.
Yeah. Well, it's almost as if this video game is, like, the sequel to something.
Yeah.
And it's not.
Like, this is the real Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed. And given our thoughts on Scooby-Doo 2, Monsters Unleashed... I
am gonna say, because I've said it before, I do like the live action movies. I do like them. I don't know how I feel about this video game, though.
Just looking at it, it looks... I'm
going to say I'm surprised that I didn't have it growing up.
I didn't actually get this game until I think I was a teenager.
Okay.
I didn't have it as a kid. But,
yeah.
Well,
I
knew it was a thing because
I was so into video games. I mean, I still am, but like, I just genuinely didn't even know about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, Wikipedia and Scoobypedia don't either, so this game doesn't exist, evidently. But I actually own 2 copies of this game, so I'll be taking one copy and Shannon will be taking the other. And we'll be playing it throughout this week to see how far we go and what our thoughts are.
I can't wait to like just be texting you throughout the week about how ridiculous this game is.
So many screenshots. And it's going to be an interesting thing for us because we haven't talked about a video game on this podcast yet, or really anything that isn't like just watching it on the TV.
And I haven't ever actually like fully played a Scooby-Doo video game before.
Mm-hmm. So you have no expectations then.
I've got nothing. I'm a clean slate right now.
All right. Well, like I said, guys, this game is for Game Boy Advance. If you guys want to play it, you can probably find it on eBay or maybe go to a thrift store or something.
I don't think GameStop is going to have this for you.
And looking at the graphics, I don't recommend this game for you, so don't waste your money.
Go online and see if you can watch somebody else play it.
Right.
And that's going to be...
That'll be your experience of the game. But you know what else you can do online? You can go on Twitter and follow that Groovy Scoobcast. At Groovy Scoobcast.
I know I'll definitely be posting about this game throughout the week.
Please do. I will be as well.
So you guys will definitely see some stuff if you follow us personally on Twitter, let alone if you follow us on Groovy Scoobcast. We'll definitely share a few things here or there.
If you don't already follow us, I'm at Derek T. Queen, and Shannon is at Shanny892 with 2 Y's. Is
that what it is?
Yeah, it is. You don't know your Twitter handle?
No.
I know it. I love you.
Thanks. I love you too.
You can also email us directly if you want at thatgroovyscoopcast@gmail.com, or you can visit our website, www.thatgroovyscoopcast.com. And with that, we hope that you enjoyed That Groovy Scoopcast.
Come back next week for Scooby Snack-filled time.
It will definitely be one. Bye, guys.
Bye.